Crypto is an industry hiding an insane amount of secrets that whales only really know, where they can get 1 to 2 steps ahead of us and of course leave us poor old retail buyers the scraps. But there are some of these secrets hiding in plain sight, and today I've identified that with Manta and Celestia. Now I'm going to take you on how they work together synergistically to bring us ultimately a kind of like super project in which we can ideally buy together to bring us some amazing pumpermentals in 2024 and 2025. Now, you don't really find ever 2 projects working together this well, ultimately meaning that we can just elevate the amount of gains we make over the next 24 months. So with that said, stay tuned to the very end of the video where I'm going to bring you over the course of this time information in which that isn't publicly available, that people aren't aware of, that's going to give you that fighting edge versus other retail buyers. Guys, don't forget to like the video as well if you do enjoy, and subscribe so you of course can reach your crypto goals. What am I talking about? Well, the secret is exposure, and this is a fundamental aspect of a cryptocurrency moving into the next bull run, all based around pumpermentals, a phrase and a term I used to discredit. I never used to really give 2 craps about. But I'm telling you right now, this you cannot underestimate. So don't let this fool you. This is more than what you might think it is. It is a leading indicator into huge growth. So before we get into some of this sort of stuff, I have to tell you about the basics, right? Otherwise, we're just shooting blind here. So if you don't already know what these 2 projects look like in terms of the data, Celestia right now has a 2.6 billion market cap, whereas Manta Network is 680. Now, both technically should have 25% of the supply in circulation. Actually, Manta's is, but Celestia's isn't. It's about 15%, but the vesting schedule says it should be 25%, so we're going to look at 25% right now. Sometimes CoinMarketCap gets it wrong. But the supply in 2025, how much are we diluting? Well, from this point, about 200%, so a 3x over here for Celestia and about a 2.5x over here for Manta. Now, the 2025 price prediction benchmark I'm looking for is a minimum of $100 for Celestia, which is a 6x from today's price, and about a 15x over here for Manta. But these are benchmarks because, as you'll see right now, the market cap for these 2 projects would have to actually be quite high. For Celestia, 75 billion, and for Manta, 24 billion, with the current market dominance obviously representing a much stronger project for Celestia because, well, it's been around for just a little bit longer than Manta Network has. Now, I want to say again, guys, I think Celestia will go above $100. That's pretty well obvious. And I do think Manta Network will probably push maybe even $50. But again, this is just a benchmark. So given the current market conditions, given we are on a bit of a retracement, this is going to give us a fantastic time to possibly buy. And what am I talking about here before we get into the main crux of the information? Well, having a brief look at Celestia, since it was basically launched, or at least the network token, the tier token was available, the average we can look at for price was about $11.60, and the current price being about $16.60. Matter of fact, it is a little bit lower since we are on a current dip. This was about a day old. And so I would say if you can basically get it at and beneath $11.60, that is the average. Therefore, that would be pretty much a good time to begin dollar cost averaging. Of course, not financial advice. Now, for Manta as well, it launched, again, a lot later in the cycle, only about a week ago, January 18th. $2.30 has been the average. Right now, it's about $2.70. I think around the time you're probably seeing this video, it's about $2.50 or so. So, in my opinion, I would be eyeing off bare worst case, $2.30 to get in. Any lower is, of course, better. So here's where we can begin unlocking the true power of both these projects and where the secret begins to unravel itself. And you'll see why I like both of these projects working together rather than looking at one individually. Because when you're in crypto and when you're looking to optimize ultimately your portfolio to get the most exposure in the bull run, what you have to understand is a lot of money comes into your project based on where it situates in the market. What is it known for? Modular? Is it interoperability? Is it Oracle? Is it a layer 2? Is it a layer 1? Is it DeFi? What is it? And based on what it is a lot of money going to come into those particular narratives? And fortunately for us, these 2 projects, mind you, we have only 2 projects on this list, hit approximately 9 powerful narratives. So put it in perspective, most projects just hit 1, maybe 2 or 3 at very best. 2 are hitting 9, or should I say 8? Let me stand corrected. So let's run it through here. Celestia hits 3 very big narratives. Now, it's nothing in comparison to Manta Network, and we'll get into that in a second here, but still, 3 is like the top echelon of what projects actually do, and considering it hits 3 massive ones here, Modularity, which is a 10 out of 10 in my personal opinion, will have a lot of demand coming through. Interoperability, of course, 10, and layer 0, a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. And of course, Manta Network hitting modularity, interoperability, ZKPs, privacy, layer 1, layer 2, and digital ID. So basically, 6 out of the 7 for Manta are at least a 9 to a 10, and we have one digital ID down here over at a 6. But either way, both are new altcoins, which means that people have a lot more confidence in their explosive potential. And again, they hit 9 narratives altogether, which is, again, unheard of. But these two projects actually work together. Yes, they are incorporated with one another, which gives them more of an opportunity to grow together. So you are hitting multiple heads, as we'll see here. So again, 8 powerful narratives, plus we're double exposed to modularity and interoperability as well. So we are getting value for money. And what that really means is you're buying 2 altcoins that not only will grow together, therefore, ideally speaking, your whole portfolio should be doing this. They grow together, they build on each other, but also they're hitting popular narratives that are specifically important for 2025's fundamentals. Again, it's a retail heavy market, not an institutional heavy market. So again, they're growing together, plus also building off their own unique narratives. This is what makes them so special. They're both modular, they're both interoperable. One is a layer 0, one is a layer 2. Again, very powerful. Arguably layer 2 might even be a 10 out of 10. We have ZKP's privacy over here and primary narratives for Manta, and a sub-narrative, aka what it's kind of known for, at least what we can put in it as a growth aspect, is also Polkadot / layer 1, because it is connected to both of those such things. And over here for Celestia, airdrops and layer 2s is as well something we can talk about, but these are additional narratives I haven't focused on. Either way, this is where the money flows. So when you're looking at projects, again, for this next bull run here, you have these niches where people are like, oh, okay, everyone's talking about layer 2s. That's what I'm going to buy into. So everyone focuses on layer 2 projects. And then what they decide to buy is dependent on the next step, with both of these projects do hit out of the ballpark, okay? And we are talking about the meme mobility, aka, again, what it's known for, why it's different versus its competitors. So for Celestia, it's very simple, right? It simplifies Web3 growth based on it allows blockchains to be easily created, and it allows them to run scalable, right? It allows them to be very, very fast and efficient. It's also very similar to Chainlink in the fact that you can't remove it once it's incorporated, because basically blockchains build themselves off Celestia. Well, if Celestia was to go kaput tomorrow, then those blockchains are going to be destroyed. So the more other networks rely on Celestia, the more it's needed. Therefore, it's never going to be outcompeted. It's never going to be basically washed away in the noise. It's going to be here for the long term. And also, it is a first of its kind. Now, over here for Manta, it's not the first of its kind, mind you. Well, technically speaking anyway, it isn't the first layer 2. It does, however, have the first universal circuits with Solidity. This basically means that developers can take any of their applications they built on, for example, Ethereum, Polygon, whatever it might be, that don't offer zero-knowledge proofs, and they can instantly bring that over to Manta Network, or at least allow them to connect to Manta Network and use ZKP functionalities, which is a big, big game changer. It's also the only scalable ZK-powered layer 2 on Ethereum, which is massive. That in itself is going to be a really big proponent for it, which is why it's going to blow up with ZKPs. And again, it's a privacy-focused layer 1, as we'll see in a second here. Actually, Manta Network itself is not only a layer 2, but it's also a layer 1. I know it might get a bit ahead of you. We'll look at this in a second here. So, ultimately speaking, the actual growth of these two assets is hard to measure because they have perfect bull run fundamentals, plus they're new. So it's really hard for us to put a number on exactly what price they'll go to. We have no data. Again, Manta's a week old. Celestia is like a few months old. So again, we really have no idea where they can go. All we can kind of say is they're going to likely at least 10x from today's prices. Not financial advice, of course, but I'm very confident there's no psychological ceiling. And as you can see right here, they're so unique, plus they hit so many nails on the head. It's insane. Now let's break this down one layer further. So like I said with Celestia, it's like Chainlink, but for layer 2s. It allows layer 2s to scale without having all the extra complexities that come along with creating their own blockchains, right? So it's built inside the blockchains themselves for consensus and what's called data availability, particularly for layer 2s. Makes them faster, more secure, cheaper, easier to build. Like literally, I probably could create my own layer 2 with just Celestia, okay? They can pretty much host almost everything in the technology stack. Now, they have a very powerful Web 2 influence as well because they have Mustafa, which is the CEO. He actually was the CEO also of Chainspace, acquired by Facebook or Meta. He was also an ex-hacker, hacked the FBI and all that sort of stuff. We also have Ishmael, who was an engineer at Tangem, which is basically the infrastructure in which Cosmos and all the Cosmos-related networks are built on. We also have John, who was the creator of optimistic rollups, which is a big proponent of how a lot of these layer 2 projects are built. He also worked at Consensus, and Nick, the co-founder of Harmony, a big old school layer 1 project. So like, that's top tier. You can't get any better than that. Like, particularly for Celestia, that is S tier to say the least. Now over here for Manta Network, it's a ZK powered layer 1 and layer 2. So it's not just a layer 2, it also has a layer 1 built on Polkadot. So Atlantic is the ZK solutions for layer 1, which is going to offer things like digital ID based, use cases, and also Pacific, which is a layer 2, of course, in of itself, which we'll talk more about in a second here. Basically making zero-knowledge proofs more accessible with decentralized applications, making this actually a proper use case for real things. And of course, new privacy use cases come along with that as well. Now, they also have very big connections in Web 2. Some of their backers include Divergence, Binance, Hypersphere, and Polychain Capital. Basically, all of those are S-tier Web 3 investors. So big stuff. You cannot complain about that at all. Yes, it's not quite as promising as the team built on Celestia. I do want to say the team behind the project that is supporting Manta Network, those guys are very, a big team as well, and they are very competent, but I don't think we want to kind of compare that to Celestia. So let's talk a little bit more about Celestia here and why this truly is an amazing project, and then we'll talk about how this connects with Manta in just a second. Again, the ultimate thing here is, guys, we're talking about these two projects being a powerhouse within your portfolio. Now, I don't care if you don't buy them. I'm eyeing off both these projects. I'm waiting for my own personal levels to buy in. So I don't have any sort of stake in you buying. I'm not trying to pump my bags to you. Again, projects are down right now, so I'm not trying to pump them up at all. I'm just saying to you, again, they work very well together in a portfolio because of the narratives and, again, those synergistic narratives. So Celestia works based on breaking up the blockchain. Typically, blockchains, if you don't already know, are what's called monolithic. They do all of this work right here, all in the one. One blockchain does all of this stuff. Well, what Celestia says is, hey, let's break it all apart. You guys can run whatever execution environment you want. You can run your own. You can use Optimism, ZK Sync, Polygon, Arbitrum, Solana, Ethereum, Cosmos, whatever you want to run your applications or your dApps on, you can do that. And you can sell on whatever you want. You can use Ethereum, your own rollup. You can use whatever, wherever you basically want to store all of the transactions, you can use whatever you want. But what we're offering is we're going to give you consensus, and we're going to make sure that you can, or at least anyone that downloads the blockchain can see all of the blocks and all of the transactions. Adding this thing together, which is a big, slow part of many different blockchains, that itself requires validators, and you have to bootstrap your ecosystem, and you have to get a whole heap of people who want to run nodes. It's a whole big process, but Celestia says, forget about that. We'll do that for you, and in a scalable way, okay? So they take it off the main network, and they can do it on 2 different types of nodes, light nodes and full nodes. You can run light nodes on your mobile phone, and full nodes obviously require a computer, and Celestia does it all for them and then sends it off. Now, the beautiful thing about Celestia is the more people that join the network, the more light and full nodes they get, the more it scales, the more layer 2 solutions they can bring on. And as we'll see right now, they've actually already brought on Manta Network. Manta actually uses Celestia for this exact thing. Now, you can break up and customize this however you really want. Celestia doesn't really give 2 craps about ultimately what the layer 2 might want to do. Again, they might want to use Celestia basically for most of this. They can't use it for settlement, but they can use Celestia for most of this. For example, they can only use Celestia for data availability, or they might want to use it for consensus. They can do whatever they really want. But here's the thing. The way that Manta and Celestia works together is, Manta, as you can see over here, says, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to run optimistic rollups via Optimism and also the ZK EVM via Polygon. We're going to run all the consensus and data availability on Celestia, and then put everything, once that's all said and done, back onto Ethereum for settlement, okay? That's how they ultimately work. As you can see over here, this was a screenshot taken from Manta's website. Now, this is their layer 2. This is Manta Pacific only. Manta Atlantic is, again, built on Polkadot, as we'll see right now. So this is basically how Manta works in a nutshell. You have, again, the 2 different sides of it. Manta Pacific, the layer 2 on Ethereum for ZK native applications. You have different utilities. So you have ZK NFTs, ZK DeFi, ZK Games. It's very important you know here, guys, that the beauty of Manta is they're making zero-knowledge proofs more mainstream. And basically, the kind of layer one competitor to this, ultimately speaking here, at least the monolithic blockchain example, is Mina. And you guys know how much I love Mina because this is a massive industry to look forward to, again, in the coming bull run. Now, this connects to Manta Atlantic via the ZK bridge, and Manta Atlantic is, again, layer one on Polkadot for identities and credentials, bringing, I guess, utility to crypto, actually using crypto for legit things like lending, borrowing, and all that sort of stuff. So ZK KYC, ZK payments, and ZK SBT or soul-bound tokens representing a user's ID for things like KYC applications. You know, Uniswap's bringing some of these functionalities in, and now with Manta Atlantic and Pacific, you can kind of coordinate this and leverage some of these KYC gated applications based on this. And the really beautiful thing about Manta Atlantic is 72% of all the network usage fees goes back into Manta to incentivize people to come and build on either of these networks. So it works as a layer one and a layer two kit together to bring more, I guess, zero-knowledge proof utility to the entire Web3 space. So they work together again through the stack, which is, of course, I think, going to be a big bullish aspect, not just for Manta, but for Celestia as that grows, kind of like how applications rely on Chainlink now for oracles. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do today's video. I really hope you have enjoyed. The secret's out, guys. The secret's out. Now, I know some of you probably thinking to yourselves, Kyron, it's not much of a secret, really. Well, it is. Because people don't really understand the fact that you can meld projects together to hit many nails on the head. So you're hitting different narratives so your projects can blow up at different times, you can take profits, but also will grow overall together. That's what you want. You want your whole portfolio moving up in a synchronous way. So with that said, if you have enjoyed, of course, drop a like on the video. And again, let me know which one you would prefer. If not, both. I'm buying both at least. And we'll talk soon, guys. Take good care.